but turns out political candidates aren't willing to invest in a startup during a campaign. Then we decided to possibly, as simple as that, pretty much came down to it. Then Spence and I were kind of brainstorming one day. We were thinking about trying to insert the gas strips that actually come out of your gas pump when you fill into your car. Turns out every time you fill up, on average, you're wasting about 1/500th of a gallon. Yes, I brought in some gasoline in a jar. We crunched the numbers. If you're filling up twice a week for a year, you're going to save about 1 gallon of gas a year, so about $4. So it really wasn't worth our time to try to develop this device that I was actually having my brother work on. And long story short, we are now A&B, and Spence is going to tell you about the fundamental problem and who we are and what we do.
So we're for small aircraft mechanics. I actually grew up in Idaho at the family business was involved small aircrafts. So all through high school, since I was a kid, I helped the mechanics working on small airplanes. And I noticed growing up that they used, for every repair they did for all the different airplanes that came into our shop, they used those big bulky manuals. And there's some problems with these manuals. First of all, they're big and they take up a lot of shelf space because each airplane has its own individual manual. And so, you accumulate all of these manuals and it takes up a lot of shelf space. They're difficult to navigate just because you have to there's tons of details in them. You have to go to the index to go back, find, there's usually several sections that have to do with one part of the airplane. They need to be updated and must constantly be revised, FAA regulations. So they need to be revised. If the manufacturer changes something due to technology or safety issues, they have to be brought up to date. And because they have so much detail in them, sometimes images lack some quality. They don't have, the small, maybe nuts and bolts that you were looking for. So ATP Navigator is actually the leader in a lot of parts of aviation, but they're the leader in the aviation mechanics. They basically tried to solve the shelf space by taking all these manuals, and they have over 700 manuals that they put online into one giant software. I actually talked to some mechanics, and they showed me this software, and it had some problems with it. The website was really messy. The interface was really difficult to navigate through. The guy was trying to show me an example, and he got lost about 5 times. They end up actually selling more information than needed to the mechanics. They sell them, all this stuff that the mechanic may or may not ever use. They're just looking for the particular part, but they're paying the price for all of this stuff. The images on it are actually lower quality because they try and zoom in to see the picture. It's just basically the manual that's uploaded online, and the image was actually worse than if you just had the manual. And they're even more difficult to navigate because you had to click through on a computer instead of being able to flip a book. This was an actual quote I got from a mechanic at Palo Alto Airport, just talking about the low image quality. So this is kind of a mock-up of our idea of what our product would be. It's like a simple interface, basically taking the manual, tearing it into its appropriate sections, and putting it on the airplane. It's a 3D interactive model online. So say you want to look at the propeller, you drag the mouse, and each part lights up as you go over it. Click on the propeller, it zooms in, and once you get down to the basic part that you're looking for, whether it's a propeller or a valve on one of the engines, it gives you the part number, repair manual, all sorts of information, including the price listings from the market. I actually got to go talk to some mechanics. I went to Palo Alto Airport and talked to a few different mechanics, and when I went home a couple weekends ago, I got to talk to our mechanic, our neighboring mechanic, and then I got to call some mechanics in Caldwell Airport, which is a small airport outside of Boise. They were all very excited about it, very interested. All said they would pay money for this product. One of them was skeptical of the amount of time it would take to create this sort of product, but in the end, they all thought it'd be extremely useful, and they're all familiar with what they have to do now. And they've always complained about it, so I kind of knew it was a problem. Next, Zoe's going to talk about sales and marketing.
Okay, so we did some research on numbers. We found that there are 140,000 aviation mechanics in the U.S. Of those, 85,000 of them are small aircraft mechanics, which is our target population. And then from there, we said that 85% of them have internet, which is what they need to use our product. And then from there, if 23% of those adopted A and B, then we'd have initial target market size in the very first year of 16,618 mechanics. And it was a little hard to calculate our market value, but we just went with Cessna 172 model because it's the most commonly used, it's the most common model. Prices can actually range from anywhere between $500 to $8,000, but we stuck with this one. And if you look at our prices compared to ATV navigators, our prices actually are very competitive. Our initial fee for the Cessna 172 model is $700 compared to $1,600, and our renewal fee is $250 compared to almost $1,300. So using the $700 baseline fee, if every one of these mechanics were to buy the product in the first year, we have a market value of approximately $11.6 million. And we're going to talk about funding.
Great. So because we know we're nothing without a product, the next step that we're thinking of doing is actually making the product. And so we've talked to 3 different programmers who are all interested in this project. And we kind of asked them, how long do you think it's going to take? Do you think it's possible? And the figure that we came up with is 1,000 hours is what they thought we would need to actually come up with a minimal viable product. And so we did a few back-of-the-envelope calculations just to try to get a feel of how much funding we would need to actually develop this product. And based on the 1,000 hour figure and paying them some reasonable amount of salary, we came up with roughly $38,000 that we would need to pay for the programmers, and we also added in roughly $12,000 for extras to buy the rights to actually make the product, and we came up with a figure of roughly $50,000 at minimum that we need to raise at this point. And we thought this would be a reasonable figure to try to raise from friends and family. Because that would come to roughly $12,500 per person. And then once we raise the money, come up with a product, then we think of going to raise more money eventually from angel investors and VCs. And so for the team, we currently have the 4 of us here, and we want to add, of course, programmers to the team so we can actually build a product, and hopefully also some other people who are good at design and user experience. And we also think it would be great for us to have people who actually have industry experience and who deal with the fundamental problem we're trying to solve every day. And so we want to have some airplane maintenance experts or FAA agents on board with us, and some engineers, and also some airframe and power plant constructors on the team list. And next, Andrew is going to talk about partners and allies.
So right now we don't have any partners. We're not really interested in partnering with anyone per se right now. We'd like to say that we're kind of in the early stage. We have a lot of prospective key players. First off, we're trying to figure out how we can kind of get our name out there. As Sony said, we gave you a price for our product on a specific model for a Cessna 172. We want to make our software for one airplane at first to try to build our brand out from there. So we'd like to hopefully advertise through Dawson Aircraft, White Industries, and Barnstormers, which are salvage sites where actually small aviation mechanics go to for parts. So they actually have the problem, they're going to be working on their airplane. If they can see that they can have the software to actually help them install the parts that they're buying, I think that would be a great place to advertise. Also, FAA approved aviation maintenance technical schools. There's currently 200 in the United States. We were kind of thinking if we could try to get our software to be used to train potential aircraft mechanics in the future, that if they could become comfortable with it, maybe they take it onto their shop after they're done training. Also, we would want to have to deal with Cessna and try to buy the rights to their manual and possibly partner with them in the future to be their manual software service for their airplanes. And now, Sohi is going to talk about the risks.
So we've identified 3 main areas of risk that we may run into. The first being technical, and then financial and market. For technical risk, we always have the problem of mechanics perhaps not being able to utilize their service just because they don't have access to internet, and that's always going to be a problem, and we can't necessarily go out and solve that problem for them. And especially because our population is already so specialized, it's not like Facebook where any user in the entire world has the potential to use our product. If they don't have access to internet, that's taken away from the 85,000 small aircraft mechanics that we could be having using our product. And another risk is aviation market penetration related to what I just said. ATP Navigator is dominating the market right now in terms of the space that we're trying to take up. And if they don't like our product, then we only have 85,000 people to work with. So there's always that risk.